Ever feel like you're supposed to pick one thing
Mm-hmm.
and like be the expert in it?
Yeah.
You know, like that's your lane and you got to stay in it.
Right.
But what if that's like not the whole story?
Well, that's what we're diving into today. This whole idea of polymaths, those folks who just excel in a bunch of different things.
Yeah, like those Renaissance rock stars we all hear about.
Yeah.
You sent over a ton of articles, encyclopedias, even some YouTube videos on this. So are we ready to unlock those polymath secrets?
Let's do it. You know, it's funny because we put polymaths on a pedestal, but then the modern world's all about specialization.
Right.
Like, we forgot that for centuries, being a jack of all trades wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It was celebrated.
Totally. Somewhere we got this idea was pick a lane and stay in it. But especially now with tech, AI, all these global issues.
Like, we need those dot connectors again.
Exactly.
Think about climate change, for example. It's not just a science problem.
Right.
It's social, economic, political. You need people who can pull from all these different fields.
Okay, so that's the why a polymath approach might be good now, but how do they even work? One article you sent talked about being T-shaped. What is that?
Oh, it's such a good visual. Imagine a T, that stem, your deep expertise, your foundation,
Okay.
but then the top bar. That's your broader knowledge across other fields. That's where the magic happens, depth and deep breadth.
So not a mile wide, an inch deep, but you have that deep area, and then you branch out from there.
Exactly.
Because who knows, maybe knowing about history sparks an idea for your tech startup, right?
Exactly.
Speaking of, you sent over info on some really cool polymaths. What about Da Vinci?
Yeah.
Everyone knows him for the Mona Lisa, but he was into way more than just art.
Oh, absolutely. Da Vinci, he's a classic example. But did you know that his knowledge of anatomy actually directly influenced his art?
I mean, I've always thought his paintings were so realistic, but
Yeah.
I never connected it back to anatomy.
He dissected human bodies, which, back then,
Oh, wow.
it gave him this unparalleled understanding of muscles and bones and everything under the skin.
Wow.
So when he painted, he could depict the human form so accurately. That's what gives his work that lifelike quality.
It wasn't just being good at art, it was combining it with this whole other field.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, give me another one. What about Hypatia of Alexandria?
Hypatia. Living in 4th century Alexandria, she was a leading mathematician, astronomer. She even edited Ptolemy's Almagest, which was like the astronomy Bible back then.
Oh.
But wait, there's more. She was also this renowned philosophy teacher, and students came from all over to learn from her.
Hold on. Math, astronomy, and philosophy.
Yes.
And she was an expert in all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Not just dabbling. This wasn't a hobby. It really makes you think, right?
Right. Like, we limit ourselves thinking we can only be good at one thing.
Totally.
And her story highlights another thing about polymaths, that interconnectedness of knowledge. Hypatia didn't see these disciplines as separate. They were all connected.
Interesting.
Threads in the same tapestry.
So maybe that's how she made those breakthroughs, because she could see the connections others missed.
Uh-huh.
This reminds me of Jagadish Chandra Bose from the material you sent. He's considered the father of Bengali science fiction, which is already incredible, right?
I know. Talk about range.
But he was also into botany, physics.
Yeah.
He even pioneered biophysics.
The man was nonstop.
So he's writing sci-fi while making scientific discoveries. How was that even possible?
That's what I love about researching polymaths. They completely challenge what we think is possible. You don't have to fit in a box.
It's like they saw the world as this big web of knowledge, and they could just, tap into all of it. It makes you wonder, were these polymaths just born brilliant, or were they doing something, cultivating habits to help them be so good at so many things?
Right. Like, was it just something they were born with? Or did they actually make themselves polymaths?
Right.
One thing that comes up a lot is this dedication to lifelong learning.
They just never stopped, did they?
Never. They were never satisfied with knowing just one thing.
And you can really see that in the material you sent. Like, one of the videos goes deep on Da Vinci's notebooks, right?
Yeah.
Those things were basically his brain, but on paper.
His external brain.
Yeah.
And they're incredible. I mean, he documented everything.
What kind of stuff are we talking?
Inventions, anatomy observations. I even read somewhere that he wrote down grocery lists in those notebooks.
Yo, way.
It's like nothing was safe from his curiosity. He had to write it all down.
Makes my to-do list look pretty sad. I'm definitely not sketching out my grocery list.
But that's the thing. It wasn't just about jotting things down. It was how he used those notebooks.
Yeah.
He'd brainstorm, problem solve, look at ideas from every angle.
It's like he was processing information,
Yeah.
actively thinking through stuff, not just taking notes.
Exactly. And that's something we can all learn from. Don't just passively consume information. Engage with it.
Love that. And it's not just a Western thing either. I mean,
Yeah.
you sent over some great stuff on Mikhail Lomonosov. He challenged the whole phlogiston theory, which, if you're into science, huge deal. But he was also a big advocate for education. Right.
Yeah, like he helped establish Moscow State University. That's putting your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. He wasn't just talking about it, he was making it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's shift gears for a sec. This history stuff is super interesting.
Yeah.
But what about us?
Right.
What about the modern polymath?
Can we even do that today in our crazy, fast-paced world?
Right, because everything's so specialized now.
It's the question, right? And a lot of people are asking it. But the good news is, I think we can cultivate that polymath spirit. One YouTuber you shared said it really well. Being a modern polymath isn't about being a master of all. It's more about having this diverse set of skills and interests so you can approach problems in new ways.
So more like a master synthesizer.
Yeah.
Finding those connections that other people might miss.
Exactly. It's about breadth and depth. It's not spreading yourself thin. Have your area of expertise, that T-shaped foundation we talked about.
Right.
But then be open to other fields. That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, that makes sense. But the million-dollar question, how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
Life is busy.
Right.
I'm looking at my to-do list like...
It's never ending.
Exactly.
But that's where those evergreen skills come in. A couple of videos you sent talked about those.
Okay, so what are evergreen skills?
Think communication, problem solving, critical thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Adaptability. Those are useful no matter what you do.
Totally. It's not just about being the CEO. It's those foundational things that help you no matter what.
Exactly. So as you get better at those evergreen skills, you're building a toolkit.
I like that. It's like you're building your foundation so you can build anything on top of it.
And then as you learn and grow, you in those personal touches, the things you're passionate about.
Right.
And suddenly you're making connections nobody else is making. That's where the magic happens.
Okay, I can see that. But how do you make time for all of this? I can
Yeah.
barely keep up with my day job.
Well, one video talked about this idea of a season of obsession, which I love.
It's a season of obsession. That sounds kind of intense.
I know, right? But it's about focusing your energy for a set period of time on one skill or one area of knowledge that you really want to dive into. It doesn't have to be forever, but it takes dedicated focus.
So it's like saying for the next 3 months, this is my thing.
Exactly.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It seems more doable than trying to learn like 10 things at once.
It's manageable, right?
Yeah.
And you can apply it to anything. Maybe you learn a new language.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're like, I'm going to dive deep into jazz music, whatever gets you going.
I'm getting the sense that this isn't about like becoming some kind of superhuman who knows everything. It's more about
No.
tapping into that curiosity we all have.
It's about the joy of learning, finding what makes you come alive.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's all about.
It's like we forget how to just be fascinated by something.
Yeah, totally. But here's the cool part. When we tap back into that playfulness, that curiosity,
Yeah.
it actually makes us more productive.
Really?
Think about it. When you're excited about something, you get more done.
That's so true. I'm definitely more motivated when I'm actually like enjoying what I'm working on.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, find a job you love.
And you'll never work a day in your life.
Right. Exactly. So maybe it's not just about jobs. It's about everything. You got to find that thing that lights you up.
100%. And this came up in the research too. Making connections.
Okay.
And not just between ideas, but between people.
Yeah, that human element is so important. Like,
Yeah.
I get that knowledge is power thing.
Yeah.
But it's sharing that knowledge that really makes a difference.
Totally. One video talked about those old school salons, you know?
Yeah.
Like, imagine these coffee houses where intellectuals would hang out, debate ideas.
Oh, wow.
Bounce things off each other. It was like the original internet.
Way better than scrolling Twitter, right?
Right. But we can kind of recreate that today.
How so?
Think about online communities,
Oh, yeah.
discussion groups, even just having more interesting conversations.
You're building your own virtual salon.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to reach out to people you admire. You'd be amazed how open people are to sharing what they know.
It's true. Everyone likes to feel like an expert, right?
Exactly.
Plus, when you teach something, you learn it even better. Okay, so we're tapping into curiosity. We're connecting with people. Is there anything else?
I think the big takeaway here is that we're all part of something much bigger. We might feel like we have to do everything ourselves, but learning, growing, it's a team sport.
I love that. We're all in this together. Right?
Exactly. We're all just trying to figure it out.
And it's okay if it's messy.
Oh, 100%. There are going to be bumps in the road. There will be setbacks.
Totally.
But that's where resilience comes in. You learn from it and you keep going.
Because failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey.
Exactly. Every mistake, every oops, it's just an opportunity to learn and grow.
Such a good reminder. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From like the history of polymaths
I know, right?
to how we can actually apply some of these ideas in our own lives.
It's been so fun to dive into this with you.
Me too.
Yeah.
And hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired, like
Yeah.
maybe they can unlock a bit of that polymath potential.
I think they can.
And remember, you don't have to do it all.
No.
Just start with something you love.
Yeah.
Be curious. Who knows where it might lead?
Exactly. Embrace that curiosity.
To lifelong learning.
Cheers to that.